Well, hello everyone. It's good to see you.
It's good
Welcome
to see
to
you.
this week's
Everyone.
roundtable discussion. And we're going to talk about trust today. I want to tell you, I was very proud of myself that I got the PowerPoint up because it was giving me trouble. And now I'm just noticing it's last week's PowerPoint. I've got the
Oh,
wrong
really?
ready to
Oh,
go.
don't worry about it. It's all good then.
So I'm gonna have you guys chat a bit on the topic of trust, and then I'll go find the right PowerPoint and get it up. Welcome, Zian. How are you?
I'm feeling fucking great. Another piece of
Nice.
muscle like shifted back into place yesterday.
Nice.
And my brother said something about this like a few years ago at a family gathering. He mentioned something about a hooking motion needing to take place, and that's exactly what I felt yesterday. Just muscle kind of hooking into each other, and it feels almost like both shoulder blades are completely symmetrical with each other, as if one is actually supporting the other, and they're not just like sliding out of place all the time. And it just like I still feel tightness, but everything is just starting to feel a lot better.
Dude, that is amazing. You're like a Jenga puzzle that has to be shifted into
Yeah.
the correct place.
Yeah, like I'm actually doing it myself, and like all the work that I'm putting in with somatic stretching, it's paying off. Like I don't need to
Dude,
go like I know now that I don't need to go see somebody to fix this. I don't need a deep tissue massage specialist or someone who is specializes in fixing restricted fascia. Like I can do this over time, and it's paying off, and I'm seeing the results. I'm experiencing it myself.
that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So we're
we are,
recording.
yeah.
I guess you assumed that. And
Yeah, I know.
Brian's in his hostel in Da Nang, and you're in your patio there outside San Diego, and Jonathan's
Yep.
outside San Francisco in his home. And all of us have crossed our fingers for our Wi-Fi connections. Everybody
Yeah.
had some up and down Wi-Fi, but it's the way of the world. And so here we are. Well,
Okay, so are you still getting the PowerPoint
yeah, no,
together?
I closed the other one. I'll go ahead and try, Brian, if you want to start the conversation about trust.
Sure. Okay. So let me start talking about trust. You can work on that.
Great.
So I did find a song with some lyrics, which is kind of interesting. Um, it's an obscure band, I think. I don't know if many people know of it. The band's called Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit, but they did a performance in Austin City Limits, which is a big music festival there. So it kind of relates to trust, and I'll talk about how I see that it does. But I want to talk about not just trust in people, but trust in life, trust in yourself, trust in some other
Mhm,
concepts. So we'll go over this song and
mhm.
I'll talk about it. So the lyrics go, if we were vampires and death was a joke, we'd go out on the sidewalk and smoke, laugh at all the lovers and their plans. I wouldn't feel the need to hold your hand. Maybe time running out is a gift. I'll work hard till the end of my shift. Give you every second I can find and hope it isn't me who's left behind.
Mhm.
Knowing that this can't go on forever, likely one of us will have to spend some days alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together, but one day I'll be gone. So, what I find interesting about this is there's trust like in your lover and your girlfriend or in people, but you kind of also have to have trust in life
Mhm.
because the truth is you don't really know where a relationship's going to end up. I mean, someone could die, you guys could break up, think who knows, someone could get sick.
Mhm.
So what I think is whatever happens, you have to trust that something good's going to come out of it. So I'm kind of, talking about trust in that way. Um, and I also think you have to trust in yourself that you will be able to handle whatever comes. Like trust in your ability to adapt as things happen within your relationship. everything. I mean, relationships change. People fall out of love. Then what? You
Mhm.
know? And so, what do you put your trust in then? Like, if things change in a relationship, um, do you trust yourself to move on? Do you trust yourself to fix the relationship? That would be another approach. Do you just trust that whatever happens, you'll make something good out of it? So, different kind of aspects of trust.
Mhm.
And I think when it comes to trusting others, I feel like in today's world, we're not really big on character. We're not really big on values. We're not really big on honesty, ethics, morality. Those things, like the world today is big on money. It's big on ego. It's big on stuff like that. So I feel like in this world, to adapt to that, you kind of have to like layer in your trust of other people in layers.
Mhm.
So as you get to know a new girlfriend, or as you get to know new people, if they're cool and it's like going well, you can like start trusting a little bit more. If they do something raggedy, you kind of pull back a little bit maybe. And but then if it starts to repair again, if they're cool again, you kind of layer in trust a little bit more. I think that's kind of a good approach in today's world. Maybe you guys disagree, and feel free to disagree. Um, but I think we don't live in the 1950s Leave It to Beaver era anymore, where everyone kind of had a common code of ethics and everyone just followed it. And like, I feel like in those times you could trust people early on, and the average person wasn't manipulative, or there's so many people like, I don't know, on dating apps talking to multiple people and they're maybe not honest about it. And I mean, there's a lot of that going on now. So
Mhm.
I feel like you kind of have to layer in your trust over time.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I would say is, what do you put your trust in as far as information? Like, which news source do you trust? Which source of like health information do you trust? I
Mhm.
mean, there's people doing carnivore diet who are getting results. There's people who are vegans.
Mhm.
Wait, like, which one are you gonna trust? Which way are you gonna go? You just gonna do normal, standard American diet? Do you just trust that?
Mhm.
So, like, where do we put our trust? A lot of people have lost their trust or their faith in religion. So, what do you trust now? Are you gonna trust science? Are you gonna trust psychology? Are you gonna trust like meditation or yoga? And I think like where we choose to put our trust determines a lot about our lives and the direction we end up going. No one has all the answers,
Mhm.
but you end up putting your trust in something, and that shapes your life. Um, so those are the things I would bring up about trust. And if someone else wants to springboard off that,
I have my slides ready. So is it
all
okay
right, we
to
can
do
we can
our
jump into that. Yeah.
presentation? But I've never thought about things from the perspective of a vampire. So that was
Well, you
interesting.
should.
Thought
You
experiment.
should.
What if death is a joke? Well, and philosophically in yoga, death is a joke. We're living a chapter of a longer existence. This is this chapter.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I never thought of it from the perspective of a vampire. So that was fun. And I'll put that link to the song in the description. So, okay,
Okay.
here we go. We're going to try to share and present. I know I will be successful. I trust my ability to be successful. Dun, da, da. Can you guys see?
Nice.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, I'm going to put it in present mode. Ooh, okay. Trust. I did share some links with the roundtable invitation. This first one was the Trust Project, and this is trust from a research perspective in business. And so business agreements, the world of commerce, and they sort of broke down a couple of attributes of trust in business relationships. And so the first question was, is this a person of integrity? So does
Mhm.
this person operate with specific ethics? and Brian, you referenced that there are people who don't come from a background where they're taught to cultivate virtues or taught specific religious values, that it's, come one, come all, one size doesn't fit all. People feel a loose relationship with the truth, or their ability to be a person of integrity is okay. So asking yourself that question, is this an ethical person who values integrity? And if they don't value integrity, that's just something to know. Another area is competence. And so I think about this like when you hire a contractor, they might be a very ethical person, but not a good plumber. But I hired them to do the plumbing. So do they have the ability to do what they said they were going to do? Or are they a nice person who's just going to give it the old college try? Like, what did I hire? What am I paying for? And then predictability. Has this person consistently behaved in a way that I can forecast it would also stay true for the future? And that's when you do things like check references. How was this person at the last job? Or what about the last 3 plumbing jobs they did? Were you satisfied? So what kind of predictability might you imagine? And so, people in authority positions, like the 4 of us, must engender trust in relationships. And these are the kinds of questions a client would be asking, as they determine should they hire us to work with them. And then this article from Psychology Today, when trust is broken. What happens when there's a break in trust or a violation of trust? Sometimes people don't even agree that a violation happened. So some people give themselves permission, like in relationships, to lie about things because they feel like if they tell the truth, they have no shot at a relationship with you or somebody else. And so when you have a break in trust, these are 3 steps, and we can talk about this. Listening without defensiveness, seeking to understand what happened and why. So just getting your brain wrapped around, why was it okay to tell this lie? And it could be a lie because you're having a surprise party and they didn't want to spoil the surprise, or it could be the body count lie. We don't know what the lie is. To focus on the facts of the matter, the timing, the decisions that were made. So if you get a timeline there, we can jump to conclusions where we think somebody should have known, or of course somebody would have had these material facts at the time they made a choice or a decision, and they may not have had those facts, or they may not have known. So when you break it down by the facts and the timeline, you might understand the decisions better. And then agreement may not be possible, but both parties can be heard. You can, set the table and understand what happened. What happens from there, whether you can repair this breach in trust and recover trust, or whether you just say, well, this is something I can't live with, I can't move forward. But at least you understood what happened and why. If they're truthful in this conversation, okay, then I have memes. They will be done. When you trust a person, you either have a friend or you have a life lesson. 2 reasons I don't trust people. I don't know them. I know them. Trust can't live in the same space as secrets and lies. I think that's true. I thought this was funny, and I don't got trust issues. I seen this shit before issues. So, and then the last way is a quote from Ernest Hemingway, the writer. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. So I think there's some risk to take, whatever you're doing. It looks like we lost Brian for a minute.
I'm still here. I don't know if my screen froze.
Yeah, your camera's not reporting video.
Okay.
That's okay. So, okay, we've set the table for trust. We're talking about trust in business and personal relationships. And, Brian, you shared your song. Jonathan or Zian, would you like to chime in about trust, how to build trust, what to do if trust has been broken?
Sure. I'll let Jonathan go first if he wants to. I'll let Jonathan go
Yeah,
first if he wants to.
yeah, sure. Why not? So when it when it comes to trust, it's interesting because I'm sure everyone here and everybody that is going to be watching this has had their trust has been broken at some point, or like they trust on someone and it was a disaster. So when it comes to trust, um, personally, I trust humans, but I trust that they are going to do the best of their ability. They're going to do only to the best of their ability. For
Mhm.
example, I trust someone that is going to do some kind of thing, but I don't trust them to do some other things.
Mhm.
Because if you pay attention, you will notice that there are people that you can trust for, like, let's say when it comes to relationships, there are humans that you can actually do trust. They're not going to go behind your back and meet with somebody else. However, there are some humans that if you pay attention, you cannot trust them on that. You can trust that they're going to cook your meals. You can trust that they're going to clean your house. You can trust that they're going to keep everything nice and tidy, but you cannot trust them on that particular uh, area.
Mhm.
So trust is not like a is not as simple as it sounds, but
Mhm.
there's definitely ways to trust humans. It just takes a level of attention.
Mhm.
Um, like I have a sister, for example. I trust that she's going to do certain things, but I don't trust her to do other things. Like
Mhm.
she's going to be the last person that I would trust when it comes to certain things. Okay, uh, uh, and it is a risk, yes, but it can be a calculated risk. Like you don't have to take like stupid risks just because of the sake of trust. Like you cannot go have a girlfriend that is a stripper and just trust that she's not going to like do something behind your back. Like there's calculated trust that you can take.
Mhm.
Now it might sound horrible, but in reality is you acknowledging that you actually do trust them to the best of their abilities.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it is important actually when it comes to now back to work. There's humans that you can trust. They're going to do an excellent job at A, but you know that you cannot trust them to do that same amazing job on B.
Mhm.
They will suck. You cannot trust them.
Mhm.
Um, there are some humans that, if you pay attention, you can literally give them all the trust. And like for example, when I fly on an airplane, I give my whole trust to the pilot.
Yeah.
You have no choice. I
Yeah.
mean, the other option is to suffer through the whole flight, 14 hours or whatever amount of hours it is. That will be complete nonsense.
Mhm.
So you trust that they they know how to fly an airplane. Now, will you trust this guy how to do some other thing, like how to fix the turbine of the plane, how to fix something
Mhm.
mechanical when it comes to like fixing it? Probably not because he doesn't know that. But he knows how to fly the plane, and that's what you can trust.
Mhm.
The woman or the gal
Mhm.
or the gentleman that is going to be serving you food and stuff. You can trust that they know how to do that. They're
Mhm.
not going to pour the coffee on your legs. You can
Mhm.
trust that it's going to be in the cup. It's a
Mhm.
level of trust. It's
Mhm.
simple,
Mhm.
but yeah, trust is it's something that you have to practice, but also be um, conscious of not taking stupid trust. And because when you do that, you're putting yourself, you're actually, it's not about trust. It's just you taking a bad decision. That
Mhm.
has nothing to do with trust
Yeah.
because, especially in relationships, um, so many times I've heard like, oh, she broke my trust. I'm like, well, there were so many red flags. Like I hear your story, and then there's red flag after red flag after red flag, and then you say that she magically all of a sudden broke your trust. No, you just
Mhm.
uh you just have to pay attention.
Mhm.
But you'll be surprised. Most humans, because paying attention, it's work. So they just like whenever it happens that somebody says, "Oh, she or he broke my trust," it's because they just it's like relinquishing responsibility. It's like, well, if something happens, it wasn't me, it was them.
Yeah.
They broke my trust. They
Mhm.
suck. So there is a level also responsibility comes into play, so that you are responsible
Mhm.
what you put your trust in,
Mhm.
because it's going to impact your life in a big way. Same with friends. I have friends that I can trust. For example, I have friends that I can trust that if I have a problem, I give them a call, they're going to help me out with something.
Mhm.
But the same person, I know that if I call him for a different reason,
Mhm.
I cannot trust that that human is going to help on any
Mhm.
like any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
Because if you pay attention, you know what you can delegate when it comes to trust,
Mhm.
but you know that there are some things that you just cannot uh, do because it's going to come back to you.
Mhm.
But now, is it worth it? I will say yes. Again, back to the airplane thing. What's the opposite? What's the alternative? To
Mhm.
suffer for 14 hours, like being
Mhm.
praying all like hour after
The white
hour after.
knuckled flyer. Yes, the white
it's,
knuckles. Yes.
it's,
Mhm.
it's only 6 hours left. Now, will I trust the same pilot to drive a fucking submarine? No, because he doesn't know nothing about submarines.
Mhm.
Uh, but there are some humans that
Mhm.
the level of expertise will allow them to drive a submarine, and I will feel comfortable. Hey, this guy knows how to do submarine. And then, for example, when it comes to coaches, it's the same thing. I have my areas of expertise, but
Mhm.
if someone comes to me with some kind of different problem that
Mhm.
I do not
Mhm.
feel comfortable helping them with, I'll be like, hey, you can go with someone else.
Mhm.
I cannot help you. That's
Mhm.
that's not what I do. But there's someone else
Mhm.
there in the world that you
Mhm.
can trust that they will
Mhm.
help you out with. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah, I will say responsibility first, attention, and then you can delegate trust, like literally trust. Yes, it's important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think business and personal, you're taking a risk, whatever you do. And the person that trusts you is also taking a risk. So there's risk on both sides. And the way that you're assessing, is this person worth the risk to fix my plumbing or to have romantic dates with, or whatever the situation is that requires trust? They're making the same assessment of you. Is this person trustworthy? Does this person operate from an ethical framework? Do they have integrity? Can I believe what they tell me? And then practically, you have to see what they're doing. Does it reinforce they did what they said, they did what they said, they did what they said, they did what they said? Okay, I'm starting to get the feeling that I could trust them.
It's,
And,
it's like a it's like a bank robber. You can trust that if you hire them to rob something, you can trust that they're going to rob this house. They're going to rob that bank. But you cannot trust that they're not going to rob you. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You can trust that they're going to do the job and they're going to do it ex- extremely good. But you cannot trust that they're not going to rob you at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Zian, I want to invite you into the conversation about trust. And when you think about the stories we see about con men, we see this happen in Facebook, where it happened to someone that I know. There's this picture, they're reaching out on Facebook. The picture's not them. What they're saying on Facebook is all a bunch of lies, and then they want to borrow money. And she's like, oh, wait, this person is totally fake. Like, this isn't this real person. She did like 2 or 3 minutes worth of Google searching and realized this was a total scam. This was some kind of catfishing, I guess is what they call it. And so there are untrustworthy people in the world. There certainly are. but you still have to take the risk at some point to trust other people and to let them trust you. Zian, do you have some thoughts on this about how to build trust and when trust is good risk and when it's not?
Yes, I do. Give me a second. So yes, first off, I would like to say that there's a commonly accepted definition of what trust looks like and what it feels like. And as humans, we tend to define it as this dynamic where the other person that we know or that we think we know is going to behave in a predictable manner that engenders feelings of safety and comfort and conforms to our preconceived notions of what we need from them. Mm-hmm. And we associate this outlook of trust with safety and what was the other word I was going? Yeah, safety and loyalty. And that's one level of trust, but that's not all that there is to trust. I often remind myself that you can trust that you're observing the truth of who somebody is at all times. No matter what you think or what you think you do or don't know about them, you're observing the truth of who they are at all times. And it goes back to what Jonathan says: pay the fuck attention. be mindful. Be on your P's and Q's. Don't get caught slipping. Like this is where self-awareness comes into play. So that's a greater level of what trust looks like. And if you want to start really learning to trust people or to feel comfortable with trusting people, you got to learn how to trust yourself. You got to learn how to trust your own decisions, your own ability to navigate the world, and to make sure that you're staying away from people who are going to take advantage of you, who will take advantage of you. Mm-hmm. And when your trust is betrayed, it can be hard to trust people again. Mm-hmm. And so naturally what's going to happen, feelings of hatred, emotional, feelings associated with emotional violence, bitterness, resentment, all that stuff is going to come to the surface, and it's okay. It's natural. Mm-hmm. Don't tell yourself not to feel those things. Don't force yourself not to feel bitterness, resentment, and the storm of emotions that comes along with that, whatever it is. Feel it. Feel those energies in their fullness. Acknowledge them. Mm-hmm. And integrate a lesson from what you're feeling, or release them, or maybe a bit of both. I don't know. That just, at that point, that depends on the individual and what they need out of the situation. Mm-hmm. But I can't stress this enough. Don't suppress what you feel when your trust is betrayed, mm-hmm. because that's only going to harm you in the long run. So it's just critical that we learn how to trust ourselves, have self-awareness, pay attention. And when we do experience a breach of trust, a betrayal, whatever that looks like, in whatever form it shows up in, honor what you're feeling and be with that. And if it takes you, depending on the severity of the breach of trust, if it takes you a year to start trusting again, if it takes you 2, 3, 5 years, that's cool. And if you never, ever trust people again either, that's also cool. So honor that as well. If you never trust people again, honor that, because that is also, there's something within that space of energy that you definitely need in order to protect yourself. and don't listen to other people and tell you, well, you got to learn how to trust. No, you don't. No, you don't. If a person doesn't want to trust other people, then that's where they need to be. And as you said, there is risk involved, and that's exactly why some people don't trust easy, or some people just will not trust regardless, because it is too big of a risk for them, and they've decided that the risk outweighs any possible benefit that they might get out of it. And I understand, because the human heart is very fragile. It's very tender, and a human heart has to be open, and you have to accept the consequences that come along with trusting someone. And if you can't accept those consequences, then it's impossible to trust somebody. And as I said, that's okay.
I appreciate that feedback.
Before I forget, because Ian reminded me of something. Especially when it comes to relationships. In my experience, especially with men, they come to me and they say, "Well, I trusted her," and I'm like, that means nothing. Like, you were not putting your trust on what is actually you have to trust about her. For example, I trust that if I choose to have a girlfriend, I trust that she's going to throw, especially because of the level of woman you're going to choose. I trust that she's going to trust. I trust that she's going to throw the hardest shit test on the planet. I trust that she's going to push all my buttons. I trust that that's her nature. So when you know, there's a difference between being naive and trust. So I trust that women are going to do all kinds of things to put you out of balance when you're in a relationship. So when you trust that she's going to do that, that means you trust her. So it's a level of trust. But if you're naive and you just say, "Oh, I trust her, therefore I can just be me," I'm like, no, you're going to get your heart broken for the rest of your life until you're still alive. You have to put your trust and trust what they are going to do best. Same with men, women that are like, "Well, I trusted him." Well, yeah, you trusted him, but how do you treat him? Obviously, he's going to end up with the secretary that treats him like a king. Like, it's not because, "Oh, I trust." Again, going back to just like relegating the responsibility. I trust, therefore somebody else's problem now. I trust you now. My whole life is in your hands. And then if something happens, it's you because of you. No, there has to be a level of responsibility and attention. You have to pay attention so that you do not end up in those situations, like everybody has at some point. But trusting the abilities of the human that you have, or you're about to put your trust in, is the best way to feel comfortable and to allow yourself to trust, because you can trust that they're going to do the best they can do. You cannot create these false expectations just because you feel like trusting. That has nothing to do with trust. But yeah.
I can appreciate from an entrepreneurial perspective, as well as from a romance or relationship perspective, it's very difficult when trust is violated. You go through a series of emotions, remorse. Why did I trust this person? You can have grief, like, here's what I thought the outcome was going to be. Here's what the outcome actually is. Those two things don't match up anymore. And then you do the review. Well, where was the first sign that this was going to go wrong? What were my assumptions that turned out to be incorrect that I didn't even know I was making? I'm making decisions based on assumptions that are kind of invisible to me because maybe I'm not paying close attention. But, the song that I have, and we have like 20 minutes left, the song that I have is one from Travis Tritt. I think Broken Hearts and Country Western sort of goes together. But his song is Can I Trust You With My Heart? And what I liked about the lyrics of the song, and we'll put it in the description, is he says, "Hey, this romance is fun and I like being with you. But now we're at the point where I have to ask you this question. Can I trust you with my heart? Like, are you going to go the distance with me? Are you committed to do a long-term thing? Like, where are you? Like, at some point, The romance has to turn into some kind of practicality, some kind of mutual conversation and agreement where you actually talk about, here's what I'm thinking, here's what you're thinking. Do those two things match up? And then what would it take to get them to match up if they don't? In business, there's a kind of emotional high when, as an entrepreneur, you go out on your own, you start a new business, or you have a side hustle. It looks like it's going to turn into your full-time thing and it's exciting. You're emotionally involved and you don't think about an exit strategy. And so, for new entrepreneurs, I talk about like having a prenup with yourself. Like this is what I'm getting into. And then I need, before I start, a way to get out of the thing I'm getting into. Like think about an exit strategy at the entrance of this new business, at the entrance of this new business partnership. What if it doesn't work out, either through no fault of their own, they have cancer, 5 months to live, they want to sell the business, whatever it is. When you do an entrance, you should also be thinking about the exit. Maybe you never have to take the exit. Maybe you do have to take the exit, but what would be the markers that say it's time to get out? And I already have thought through how I'm going to do that in business, or maybe also in your personal life. So let's have some final thoughts on trust. Whether or not you can trust someone with your heart, how to have the conversation, however you guys want to talk about it. But I know trust is risky in business, in personal lives. Even there's an article that I shared a link for that I'll include in the notes about children who have to trust their parents, about telling them the truth too. Sometimes the first trust exercises happen within our family. And I don't think you can be alive and not have your heart broken a time or two. So if you've been a parent, whether your third grader has fallen in love with the girl in pigtails, or whether it's a high school prom romance and it's like, oh, but the dance is over and now he doesn't talk to me anymore. Whatever it looks like, there will be some heartbreak while you grow and learn. It's a component of life. And learning, well, I trusted last time, what would I do different this time? Learning yourself how to be responsible, as both Jonathan and Zian have mentioned, with the trust, because you own the fact that you trusted that person. Nobody made you do it. This was a voluntary decision. And so you own the consequences. But let's do a final round. Brian, do you have final thoughts since you kicked us off?
Yeah. And I heard a lot of what Jonathan said. I missed some of it, but trust is fascinating. It's really interesting. So you mentioned con men. So you mean you're not giving money to Nigerian princes? I mean, so
no Nigerian princes.
What are you doing? You don't want to help the Nigerian princes. So, well, what's interesting is the term con man. It's short for confidence man. Mm-hmm. And the idea was someone who has a lot of confidence in themselves, and they make you build trust in them through their confidence in themselves. Mm-hmm. And then they use that later to swindle you. Mm-hmm. That's like where that term comes from. So it's interesting. Like people can try to have you, like they can try to build trust that you have for them. They can try to make you trust them to use that against you. Or they could use that to build a beautiful relationship with you of some kind. Like it can go either way. So I think what Jonathan says, pay attention, be really, and seeing, you're also saying the same thing, like pay attention, be aware is really key. I've definitely been guilty of that. Like there's a lot of times where I think I've done this in all my relationships, even friendships, not just with girls. Mm-hmm. I usually want to see people in my idealized version of them, like not the way they actually are, because I enjoy them more that way. That's my like payoff. Of course, later on down the road, I'm probably setting myself up for disappointment. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed like the rose-colored glasses. So that's a mistake that I make. For sure, I've done that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I also think trust, like it comes down to, do you trust someone's words or do you trust their actions?
Mhm.
Like, which one are you trusting more? Because they're not always congruent.
Mhm.
Someone could say, "Oh, I'm not about that. I'm not going to do that." Then they do it.
Mhm.
Oh, that was just one time. That was just one time. I was drunk. Then they do it again. No, you don't understand. It was just like, we were all getting crazy. Then they do it again. Like, okay, you know what? I trust your actions. I don't trust your words. Your words are like, so do you trust someone's habits more, their actions more, or do you trust their words more? That's another aspect to look at. Um, and yeah, I think what everyone said was really good.
Mhm.
Um, I think as coaches, it's good for us to build trust with our clients, but we need to make sure that we're doing that for their benefit, like not as part of some swindle. And we're all good people here. Like we're not going to do that. But you can also talk about what are the ways to build trust. So,
Mhm.
like I think having genuine empathy for people, genuine compassion, I think that makes people trust you more. And if you don't do that, they don't feel as much trust for you.
Mhm.
Um, I think relating to people, relating to their story,
Mhm.
relating to their lives, helps them feel more trust for you. I think following through on your word makes people build more trust for you.
Mhm.
And of course, everyone can do whatever they want, but these are the things that I think tend to build trust. Like people will tend to feel more trust in you. And I do think as coaches, it's important to do that with our clients, but obviously to use it for a benefit for them.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, those are my closing thoughts. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I think, Jonathan, why don't we get your thoughts and then we'll go to Zian.
When it comes to trust, I'm sure I already said everything I had in my mind when it comes to trust. If anything, with something Brian just mentioned about how to build trust when it comes to like coaching,
Mhm.
in my experience, it's just being transparent. Like
Yeah.
there's no magic formula. It's
Mhm.
just this is me. This is what I can help you with,
Mhm.
and this is what I cannot help you with.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have this
Mhm.
um situation that you need help with. With
Mhm.
that, I can definitely help you,
Mhm.
and this is me.
Mhm.
So transparency is like an automatic. It's like you open like
Mhm.
a door or a window so they can see through you. Like they don't even have to be spiritual or anything. They can just feel uh, that
Mhm.
they can trust that you're being transparent. So when you're transparent, it's such a beautiful thing because and also it goes both ways because let's say you have a client and you know they're not being transparent, you don't trust that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing to
Mhm.
fix that situation in the first place.
Mhm. Mhm.
So transparency, it all, you cannot go wrong with being transparent.
Mhm.
It takes you
Mhm.
places.
No, that's wonderful. I love transparency as a way to demonstrate integrity. I think we've talked in the past, and I know, Jonathan, you certainly do this, is you screen clients. What are you trying to
Mhm.
do? What is your experience with this in the past? This is what I would require of you. Are you up for that? Like, tell me you're up to do the
And
thing.
I reject some clients, some
Yep,
potential clients too,
right.
because of the same
And
reason.
to have integrity is to say, I don't think we're a fit. And I can see what you need. I can also see I'm not the one to provide that for you. I can refer you, but that's transparency that operates with integrity. And so they know what it's going to be like, and they can admit they're not up for it, or they can also admit I'm down for that. Yeah, that is what I want. You're the right person. Let's go. So I think that's a way to behave with integrity, and then trust is built as that's demonstrated. Okay, I was gonna turn to Zian. Zian has stepped out of frame.
Cian has left the
back.
building.
Hey, Zian.
I'm
He's back.
No, it's okay. Do you have some final thoughts on trust?
I do.
It's
I
personal
do.
coaching.
So really quickly, let me just say this one. This one's for the ladies watching. Women, female. There was a post from somebody on my Facebook feed like a few weeks ago about a woman was asking if female intuition works or not, and a lot of the guys said no, it doesn't. And I said, yeah. I jumped in and I said, I replied to a few people and I gave my 2 cents, and I said, yes, it does, but they're not using female intuition a lot of the time. A lot of girls don't use their female intuition. They're wrapped up in this sense of euphoria that gets produced from the creation of oxytocin, which happens when they feel like they've made some kind of emotional connection with this guy, no matter what that looks like. When this guy stimulates their female emotions, that sense of that oxytocin is created, and then there's that sense of connection and the euphoria that follows, and they're high on that. So they're caught up in their own in their own metabolic and hormonal processes, instead of actually checking in with themselves on a conscious level and asking them, does this line up with what I need to feel safe? They don't do that. And so they end up getting fucked over or treated badly by guys who they could have steered clear away from the very beginning. And let me say this as well: the indications of a male's abusive tendencies and borderline personality traits signal themselves to this woman well before those dynamics have even manifested in physical reality, concerning how they interact and the consequences and impact of their behavior upon the other. Those things signal themselves well before they've even played out in the relationship between them. And women often ignore that because, again, they're not checking in with themselves. They're making decisions based on trauma, the need for validation, and the need to prove that they're worthy to a guy who will not see their worth, but stimulates their emotions all the same. And so that's where women end up doing themselves a disservice. The indications of slimy, sleazy behavior are there right from the get-go if she only pays attention to, at a deeper level, to what she is processing and experiencing and receiving from this guy. So that's important, that women stop, that women go to therapy, or they have some way of resolving their trauma and going inside and looking at what criteria they're using to assess potential mates and all that. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. And also, yeah, like it kind of goes back to what between Jonathan and Brian said about trusting actions versus words. You got to really pay attention. Jonathan really emphasized this. Paying attention will save your life. It will save you heartache and grief. that paying attention and mindfulness, presence, being present with the situation, with what you feel, checking in with yourself, that'll do you a lot of good, and it'll go a long way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just have a final thought, and then we'll go around and see how to get a hold of each of you. I'm reminded in what you said, Zian, about that Facebook interaction, Sheryl Crow song called Lie to Me. She's just asking this man to tell her the pretty lies because she has this imaginary life she's pretending she's living. And so just lie to me for a little bit longer so my imaginary life I can hold on to. And I think men do this too. They ask out a hottie. They ask out a 7 or an 8 who says yes, but who shit tests and demands a $200 dinner and appetizers. And then she's Instagram selfieing by herself in this fine restaurant to show other men on Instagram she's worthy of the high life. And so in the man's imagination, he's out with this hottie. This is a dream that he wants to live, and she's not thinking about him at all. This is a ticket to betterment. I'm climbing the ladder, and I'm going to find someone, who can do this. And so I think sometimes we have to disengage from the dream that we're imagining, and we're casting the person we want to date in the role of this drama in our own head. And by working with a coach, like the coaches here, other coaches, or a therapist, you get the practical reality. They take off the rose-colored glasses and they say, okay, so how did that date go? Instagram selfies, you spent $500. She doesn't take your calls anymore, but she's all over Instagram without you. Okay, so what happened? And I think working with a person who has an arm's length and can say, we see the dream you're painting. Let's go back to the reality of what actually happened. And how could you make realistic choices so that you don't disappoint yourself because you keep casting people in the role of this fantasy life you're not actually living. So I think that can be hard to do by yourself. And getting a third party perspective can be helpful to say, here's how you could repattern this dating plan you have. Here's how you could say upfront, can I trust you with my heart? Like in the Travis Tritt song, this is a question you want to ask early on. And they say, no, I just want to date a while. You're like, okay, if that's what I'm up for, that's what we'll do. If that's not why I'm dating, I don't need it. So, but to bring some practicality or reality, the same in entrepreneurial relationships. Do you want to be in this business in 5 years? Or are you looking to try to hit some lottery money and get out in 2? Because that's less likely. If that's what your goal is, we may not be getting into business with the same direction, the same goals. So get those things lined up kind of early. Jonathan, how do people come and find you?
Before that, I think Sian wants to say something.
Yeah, Sian, I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
It's okay. Thank you, Jonathan. I wanted to add really, really quickly. Back to the thing about the experience of where some hottie, some 7 or 8s, just girl with her head up her ass is taking photos of herself, showing out on Instagram, social media, showing other men that she's worthy. That's one level of it. She may not necessarily just be doing it for that reason alone. She may also be taking photos so she can show out in front of her girlfriends and put in front of them and encourage her girlfriends to shit test and take advantage of men and have these unrealistic expectations and enable and encourage her girlfriends to have these delusional mindsets where it comes to how they relate to men and dating. So that's another level of it, and that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I think as we look at their actions versus what their words are, and you just need to line up the intentions as early as possible.
Yeah.
Before your heart's engaged, hopefully. Okay, Jonathan, thanks for
and as something important that you mentioned about as coaches, like we can definitely help someone take out the glasses. However, like Brian said, it's sometimes sunglasses, it looks great. So you can put them back on as long as you are conscious and taking responsibility on what you can trust. For example, somebody wants to date a 9 or 10, that all she wants, you can trust that she's going to give you the best night of sex of your life. You can trust that 100%. You cannot trust that she's not going to break your heart. So you can put the glasses on and then take them. Like, we can help you with that so that you can enjoy, because glasses are great. I'm pro glasses. So
Know
how
that
can
you're
they get
wearing
a
them. Know that you're wearing them. You know,
knowing that you're wearing
know
them?
that
Yes.
you're wearing them.
Yeah.
Yes, like Sheryl Crow, lie to me a little longer. I'm not ready to be done. So,
Yes.
Jonathan, how do we find you?
They can find me on Instagram as Jonathan R Coaching, also alivedesign.org, and by email jonathanrcoaching@gmail.com.
Wonderful. I'll put you in the description box below so people can reach out directly or find you on alivedesign.org. Zian, how do people find you?
You can reach out to me through Instagram or TikTok. My handle on both of those is Heavenly Wisdom _coaching. On Facebook, just Heavenly Wisdom Coaching, no underscore. The alifedesign.org or heavenlywisdom.coaching@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Good. Well, and if people find themselves in the position of, I can't tell what's real or what's not, I seem to be repeating the same mistakes, it's good to get a third party to give you, a gut check about, these are the red flags you seem to ignore. Let's put those front and center so your next go round goes smoother for you. Brian, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, I kind of have a lot I want to say
Oh,
about
please
everything,
do
but I
it.
know.
Please, we
Why?
invite you and then say how to get a hold of you.
Okay. I would like to do another quick little round. I would love to hear Jonathan's and Zian's thoughts and my mom's thoughts on this if you want to chime in, Mom.
Okay.
Well, actually, one thing is, Zian, you mentioned female intuition, and I actually agree with you, but perfect way to bring it back around is women have intuition, but they don't trust it. Just to bring it back around to the topic, I mean, they don't trust it. It's there. I agree. A lot of women have it, but they're not always using it. I've seen my mom have crazy psychic experiences. I know that there's truth to that. But yeah, so they don't trust it. But I have a theory. I have a new theory on women and dating, and I really want to hear
Here we
your
go.
guys' opinions on this. I posted this in a Facebook group. One girl liked it, and I think one dude liked it. I have this new theory that I think one of the reasons that a lot of women like dating toxic guys is they actually feel safer with them. And let me explain. I think if they date a nice guy, because women always talk about how they hate nice guys. If they date a really sincere man, they feel like they have to open their heart. And they actually feel like they have to commit to the relationship. And they actually have to be a really good woman, a good girlfriend in the relationship. I think they're more scared of that than they are of just dealing with a toxic guy and his bad behavior, because they can just have the fun emotions, but they don't really have to open their heart. So they're like, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm not going to get heartbroken because I don't really care that much, but I'm just having fun and I'm out and I'm about. And it's like a way to protect themselves from like really being in love, or like really, that may be one aspect of this. I consider both of you to be better with women than I am. So I don't know. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it, but that might also be why women say they hate nice guys now. A part of it might be like, you're making the relationship too serious. It's too much pressure. With a toxic guy, there's no pressure. I mean, if it ends, who cares? On to the next one. There's like there's a freedom in that. Like there's I don't have to worry about shit. Like I'm good. There's no heartbreak. I'm just having my fun. I can still focus on my career. I don't have to like put that on hold to be some great housewife for this really like sincere, loving man, So maybe the move in today's world is men have to be somewhat of a bad boy because they actually feel safer with that. But then have some good guy or nice guy characteristics when it actually comes down to like, well, at this point, we actually need to make it work a little bit. Like, um, maybe that's the move now. Like in terms of actually making it work with women. I don't know. I'm very curious what you guys have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. So, blanket statements work for some amount of people, don't work for others.
Sure.
I think in coaching, we always go back to know thyself, the famous, Greek thing. If you just are out to have a bit of fun. There are men who say, I'm dating a little, I take a beautiful woman out to dinner. I've had a nice night. That's enough for me. I'm not really ready to be in some committed thing. And women can be the same way. I'm dating some. I'm not looking for a long-term thing. I'm looking for a weekend at the beach or, we'll have some fun. At some point, I may be ready to be in a committed relationship, but not right now. So if you know yourself, then you could be aligned with the person you're dating who wants the same thing you want, whatever that is. How about you, Jonathan? Do you have some thoughts on current dating? Women who avoid good guys because bad guys are easy to throw away?
Yes. It's it's not that women love toxic men. It's just that they are actually they are repulsed by the nice guy attitude towards life. They are. It's like it makes them want to puke. And I have a sister, so she
A marketing
like
sample of one sister. Got it.
Yeah.
my little sister. I have deep conversations with her sometimes, and she gives me like private insight of like the true thought process of a. I mean, and then I can add my own experience. But let's say even like my sister, for example, she is like repulsed by like, and I'm talking like wealthy humans. Like money is not a problem, house is not a problem, racing cars is not a problem. But she will not go out on a date with them because she's repulsed by their energy. Now, the theory that Brian has, it's actually valid because if we go back to the couple of 100 years ago, the true romantics are men created romanticism. Back in the day, when the kings and queens existed, men didn't have to be romantic. They just had power and they were like, hey, I have 500 women. This one, you, yes, no, I don't have to be romantic. You want it or don't want it. Fine. Then the men that were not kings needed to find a way to seduce women. So they created romanticism because words matter. And that's how it takes me back to Cian. You can bypass women's intuition with the power, the male energy. And that's how they end up sometimes in bad situations because we have the power to bypass their biology,
to trigger the chemistry. So
yeah, and it can be used for bad, yes, but it can also be used for good because if you truly love someone, you better make sure that you are providing her with all these emotions and stuff. So to finalize, why are they repulsed by it and they do not feel safe? Is because the nice guy is actually not that nice. He's just pretending to be nice. At the end, what does he really want? He wants to fuck her, but he will not say it because he's nice. He will say, I just want to, I just want to feel you. I just want to hold your hand. I just want to take you to dinner. Deep down, we know what he wants, but he's not going to say it. And women can feel it. They know. So that's why they're like, also, let's say something happens and she needs to be protected. I saw a study, just to finish. There was a study made by Dan Pena. It's called, they interview some men, and the question was, what will you do if someone spit in your wife's face? And then the answers are certain from all the way from, I will try to see what kind of day he was having to like, I will I will be in prison for murder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
99% of 95 to 98% of the males responded, I will try to ascertain what kind of day he was having. Like, what in the fuck? If somebody spits, I don't have a
Wow.
wife, but if someone spits on my girlfriend's butt, I will fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Uh, like,
Yeah.
and that's why women, they're like, why will they put themselves in such a vulnerable situation if they're not going to be protected? Like, I don't blame them. But yeah, by all means,
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, very good
Good.
feedback. Zian, do you have a final word here?
Yeah. Where should I start? With what Jonathan said or what Brian said first? Okay, so let's start with what Brian said first. Yes. There. So I read an article on Medium about a couple weeks ago where a, a woman was writing about an experience with a guy in her life, and she was talking about her fear of abandonment, and she said something really fucking poignant. Something to the tune of, if I never let them in, then I never have to worry about them leaving. So yes, exactly, as pretty much like Brian said, they don't really let these men in. They get with toxic guys, but they don't truly let them in. They don't and that's why hookup culture exists. It's just another avenue in some way, or in a large part. Hookup culture is another avenue for people to avoid real intimacy. They like a lot of people who engage in hookup culture, they don't know how to engage in meaningful connection. They don't know how to create that, and they avoid intimacy that way. So they don't really let toxic guys in, but at the same time, they're with them for some benefit or some level of security. Maybe not emotional security, probably not emotional security, but like the sex is good. Okay. This guy puts it down real good. Maybe he spends a little bit of money on her, but he's kind of a douchebag. He doesn't really have any respect for her feelings. He doesn't honor and have any reverence for her, the feminine mystique that resides within her. And she knows what to expect from this guy. So from with the nice guy, he's usually manipulative. It's not that there are nice guys that are genuinely nice, but quite a few of them are just manipulative. And they, as Jonathan said, they want to have sex with this girl, but they won't say it. And I understand that too. I'll get to that in a second. So they never know where they stand with the nice guy, because the nice guy never knows where he stands with himself. He's not clear on where he's at with himself. He just knows that he's too afraid to say exactly what he wants for fear of the woman not liking him. And let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how much, and I've gotten to this point where with my confidence, where I see that it doesn't matter how much a woman likes me. If I don't like myself at the end of the day, then her likability of me is not going to do my self-esteem any good. So I have to like myself first, and I can't worry about whether or not she likes me. I'm not going to come off as a creep. I'm going to do my best not to be sleazy, but I have to like myself first. And with the nice guy, or with the bad boy, it's all predictable. They know what they're getting. They know this guy isn't long term, but the sex is good, or whatever else it is that keeps them coming back to this guy, and they don't really let him in. Also, and see, I used to be kind of like in the nice guy phase myself, where like I want something, but I don't know how to say it. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm ready to just walk up to women and tell them what I want. I'll say something like, girl, I want to talk to you, but talking isn't the only thing I want to do when I look at you. And so if she's at that level, and she's open to that, she'll say, well, what is it that you want to do? And then I'll be straightforward about it. Connection, orgasms, penetration, foreplay, and I won't be sleazy about it, just direct. So I can say, I know how to say what I want, and I'm not really worried anymore about whether or not I'm going to be liked. If she doesn't like the way I'm talking to her, she'll make it clear and I can walk away, and that's cool.
Mhm. Okay.
Nice. I like it,
Wow,
man.
let's
Direct.
take a turn. Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, how do people get a hold of you? And then we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me through lifedesign.org. I think I'm gonna start trying to build up my Instagram and maybe other social medias later. So
Mhm,
maybe next week I'll
mhm.
put my stuff on there for that.
Yeah. We'll post your
But yeah, right now, lifedesign.org.
Good. Well, we've explored trust, and I appreciate everybody's viewpoints here. It's a big subject, and we had
It
a
is.
lot
It
of
is.
different aspects. So thank you so much for your wisdom and your insight and your time and your transparent honesty. So
I
until
love it.
next time, we'll see you.
It's,